if you stay the same, you're not going to last 39 years. I
Yeah.
don't think you've got to be willing to make some adjustments and change. The game's changed a lot, really in the last 10 to 15 years.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast, where we interview coaches and leaders to find out not just what they do, but how they do what they do. Becoming the best version of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we are joined by former head boys basketball coach at Birdville High School, Jeff Fitch. Coach Fitch ended his 30-year head coaching career with 535 wins. At Godley High School, he led his team to the regional finals in 98 and 99. At Birdville High School, Coach Fitch led the Hawks to postseason play 15 times, including 4 district championships and regional semifinals appearance in 2015. He was named District Coach of the Year in 98, 02, 18, and 2022. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast. Yes, sir. Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good. What's going on, Coach?
Oh, just we're trying to get better as a basketball team for one.
I love that. Well, man, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for jumping on with me and talking hoops on your Wednesday night here. I've been a big fan of your program for a long time, and I mean, 22 years, or is this your 23rd?
This would be 23 at the school.
30 years at Birdville. That's incredible. So thank you so much.
Long time. I appreciate it. I've had the pleasure to work with some really good people, and it's been a blessing to be there. I can tell you.
It's a great school. I mean, I know you already know this, but my lovely bride, Jana Saman, works yes. At Birdville. So this is special for me to get to talk to somebody that, gets to be around her every day.
Well, we found out the funny things. I've known her father for I was in college. We used to go to church together. Her uncle Jimmy, we played slow pitch softball together. Jimmy and my brother played. They were in high school together. So we kind of it's kind of weird how all that comes together.
Such a small world right there.
Yes, sir.
And now both Jana and Sarah are both there. Right. So, yeah. Well, how's the team looking this year?
We like our team. We didn't play very well last night. I saw some of the questions had to do with the day after a loss, so that kind of hit
this works.
Today. But we've got some good players. And we played a really good team last night. Arlington Martin. It was really good, aggressive, physical, really quick. Do some things that we can't really simulate in practice. So that's why we need to play teams like that.
Yeah,
to get us ready. That's what non-district is for.
Yep.
So our deal after last night's game was let's use this one to get better and go forward.
Yeah, I don't know if you realize how big of an influence you've had on our program at Grapevine Faith, but I've always been traditionally a man-to-man guy, and then pressing a little bit here and there, especially at McKinney with Wes Watson. We started pressing quite a bit, and then I brought it over to Faith. But over the years, just with different, the kind of players and kids we have here, it just man-to-man and pressing wasn't working well. And it was 2 years ago. I'm at Gateway and I see Anthony, one of your assistant coaches at church, and we were talking about our teams, and he's like, "Yeah, we're starting off really strong. We have this zone that's really tough." And I thought, zone. Just another. I said, okay, well, tell me about it. And he's like, it's just 3-2 zone, and it does all this stuff. And I said, all right, well, you send me some things on it. And I watched a little bit of a breakdown and from his notes. Since that time, we have played one possession of man-to-man, and it was last year in one of our early games. One possession. I said, I don't like it. Back to it. And so thank you so much for influencing us.
I was. This is my 39th year in education and coaching, and I was a strict man-to-man coach for probably 35 of those, up until 3 or 4 years ago. And for a long time, it was deny one pass away, pressure on the ball, good help side, but a lot of pressure. And then I guess it's about 10 years ago when Marcus Smart and all those guys were winning state championships at Flower Mound Marcus, I went up. I know Coach Henderson a long time. He used to beat me when I was at Godley and he was at Peaster. So I went up and visited with him about how they were playing defense, heels on the 3-point line in the gaps. And so we went to that, and that was a huge change for me after a long time of doing it one way, but we went and it was successful. And Randall Durant, former coach at Keller High School, and Brad Mauser over at Timber Creek, they were in my ear all the time. Said, Coach, you got to try this zone stuff. You got to try this zone. And I was hesitant, didn't want to do it. Zones for sissies. You got to get out and guard them. But Coach, they finally kind of sunk in a little bit. Nowadays, I don't think people prepare for zones as well as they prepare for man.
Yeah.
There's so much dribble drive. There's so much penetration. The zone allows us to do a little bit better job of stopping that. Coach Durant made the point that, when you're playing man, you spend so much time scouting all the sets and you got to do this on this set. And if you're in a zone, it cuts down on a lot of their sets and you're going to play everything pretty much. It's actually a little easier in the preparation phase to play zone. And so we probably are about 75%.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're right on the money, though. I think what it does is it teams practice, spend 90% of their offensive time in practice on their man-to-man stuff.
Sure.
Their sets, their plays that they really love and are going to lead them to victory. Well, we get to crumple those up and just basically throw them out.
Right.
And you really get to prepare and really work on you much more. And I love that idea behind it. But we've been able to, and because one thing, you're right about a zone. I don't like the idea of tempo slowing down, and I don't like the idea of our players just standing and watching the ball. But we've been able to extend our wings up quite a bit to half court to where they may have those 8 seconds of no pressure, but we're up in them after that.
Right. Coach Durant always would make a good point that one of the keys to playing zone is have different zones. Don't just do the same thing all the time. Because if somebody can get in a rhythm against anything, and he said, if you have 2 or 3 different things, you can kind of go back and forth in the game and keep them thrown off a little bit. That's helpful. Don't just sit in a standard 2-3 zone all the time, because after a while they're going to figure out where the holes are and where the gaps are and take advantage. So you've got to be able to switch it up a little bit. And like I said, that was a tough deal for me, because I was I don't know if you're familiar. My mentor, when I was young, I was an assistant at Trinity High School. The head coach was named Tommy Newman, and he was actually an assistant at Baylor at one time.
Oh, wow.
He came back from the college back to the high school, and he was a man-to-man guy. And 99% of everything I know about basketball and coaching, I learned from him. And matter of fact, the TABC, Texas Associated, he founded. He was the founding father.
Wow.
First group. He was the first president, and they basically met in his house, I think, and formed TABC back in the 70s. So
that's cool.
One of the legends, lives up around Denton right now. One of the legends in the game, and then I was just so fortunate to spend 6 years. He's the kind of guy that you could learn something every day. One day it might be an X's and O, and one day it might be a practice plan. One day it might be dealing with a parent. You could learn something every day if you just sat back and paid attention. And so that was for the old timers. They would remember him. But he was a man-to-man guy. He took you would know the Kosmowskis, right?
Yeah.
Well, he was the coach when Landry
and Logan.
Yeah, Landry,
okay.
The older one.
Okay.
When they played in the state tournament in the championship game, Coach Newman was coaching Trinity then. I'd already left, but so one of the legends. And just you talk to if this young coaches watch this, find somebody to be a mentor. Find somebody that you can watch and learn from. It just makes the job a little easier than trying to.
That's a great point. That's a great point. But then, what's impressive for you? So if I'm just doing that math, 35 years into your education career and coaching for a long time, you made a drastic shift. How hard was that, and what kind of made you make that change?
Just trying to compete, and I have, Coach Holman and Coach Tippett's our JV coach, and Coach Griffith our freshman coach. I have maybe the best. Well, I'm prejudiced. It's the best coaching staff in the state of Texas. I mean, these guys are incredible, and so they're younger guys. They're in tune with what's going on, and you know you should always have people around you that are smarter than you and they're going to challenge you. And so they've challenged me some to make some changes. And um, I'd like to think that I'm not too stubborn. If something's going to make us better and give us a better chance to compete, then we'll try it and see what happens. And another thing, we run a lot more set plays. Back in the old days, I was a motion guy, and we might have 3 or 4 sets. And now we run a lot more sets than we used to. And again, that's a lot of that's the influence of Coach Holman. That he said this. Here's some things we can do to take advantage of some weaknesses and our strengths. So you just, if you stay the same, you're not going to last 39 years. I don't think you've got to be willing to make some adjustments and change. The game's changed a lot, really, in the last 10 to 15 years. There's been a pretty drastic change in how the game's played.
Good change, in your opinion?
Oh, I don't know. I'm old. I don't know. Like I said, I was a motion guy. I really liked the screen away from the ball, the movement, and now it's so much isolation, ball screen, dribble drive.
Create gaps in space and allow players. Yeah.
And I always thought the game was really aesthetically pleasing when 5 guys are cutting and moving and screening. And defensively with our man, we used to spend so much time working on off-ball screens, how to get the.
Yeah.
You don't hardly need to practice that in man anymore because nobody sets a screen away from the ball. It's all just on-ball screens and drives. So, I'm just so old. But the guys come in and we spend so much time now working on the finishing moves. And I'm kind of, if you have to work that hard to finish, why don't you just jump, stop, and pass to an open teammate?
Yeah, if the degree of difficulty is that
right,
that high.
But a lot of guys are paying a lot of private coaches to teach them all of those finishing moves, and they're not going to get paid very much just to teach them to jump, stop, and pass to an open teammate. And
but I think you're right. It's a blend though between doing those simple actions that will lead to easy success and easy buckets, but then also tapping into their creativity a little bit and allowing their athleticism to do some things. But it is a fine line.
Yeah. Guys are better athletes than they used to be, and they can do more. But we were watching film today. I said, the object's to get an open shot.
Yeah.
You can make it a whole lot better if you're open than if you try to shoot it when you're not open, when you're guarded. And if you're not open, give it to somebody that is. Let's try to make it simple. But it's still a great game. So it's the greatest game. You got 5 guys on the court, 5 guys that want the ball, that are working together. They all get to touch it. They all get to play. And then you got 5 guys that are on the other side that want to get that ball really bad. And I think it's the greatest game. It's the greatest challenge. It's hard to win. It's hard, in the Metroplex, every time you play, it's hard to win. And the challenge is there every night, every day in practice to get better. So, that's what kind of keeps us going.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skill Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NIA and NJCAA to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 10-minute, 100-shot test can be taken for free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game. How does culture drive performance?
Since you sent me that list, I've been thinking, culture is also kind of a relatively new deal. We didn't used to talk about culture. We would just go in and go to work.
Yeah.
And I don't know that as a staff we ever sit down and say, hey, here's what our culture is. We just show up every day. The expectations are we expect our kids to come to practice. We expect them to work hard. We tell our parents at the parent meeting, we don't design practices to be fun. Off season, a lot of teams will take 2 or 3 weeks off, when the season's over, to recover. the day that hopefully it's after the last playoff game, we always hope, but the day after that we'll come in and we'll have our closure and tell our seniors goodbye, and the day after that we go to work. We're back in the gym in all season to get better for the next year. So I think our kids understand that if they're in a program, they're going to work. We tell them it's not for everybody. There's a difference in liking to play basketball and wanting to be a good basketball player. That there's two different, and so our expectations are that our guys in the program will want to be good basketball players and want to have a good team. Probably the thing I harp on as much as anything, and I don't know if this would be considered part of culture or not, but I think the most important thing that we can teach, or at least near the top of most important things that we can teach as a coach, is to be a great teammate. You're going to be a teammate in everything you do the rest of your life. As a family member, you're part of a team. You have a role in your family. Whatever job, occupation you do, you're going to be a part of a team. You can't all be the boss. Some people have to be do the grunt work, but you're going to be part of a team. And if our guys can graduate, finish the program, understanding the importance of being a great teammate, which means you understand your role and you fill that role the very best you can every day, then we've accomplished something with our guys. When you get a group of guys that are great teammates, it's fun. They enjoy each other. They have fun together. They understand it takes, they're not jealous. They're not bickering and griping about playing. And it's hard for 17-year-olds. That's a tough deal. They have to be pretty mature and grow. But if we can teach them a little bit of that, then I think that we've done a decent job as coaches, and I guess that's part of culture. I guess that's part of what you're talking about.
It definitely is. And I think you said something interesting about how, it's funny you said that. So I played for Tommy Thomas at the Colony, and I can't ever remember us sitting around going, "Hey guys, here's our culture."
No.
You're right. It is something that, podcasts are fixated on, and books are all about now and stuff. But I think special cultures and special coaches have been creating them for a long, long time. It's just this thing that a lot of coaches have already been doing. They just gave it a word, but I think you're right. It's do your players know what their standards are, what the expectations are, and great coaches like yourself set those and live those out every day, and that's culture.
Right. Our guys know that it's a serious thing to play basketball at Birdville High School. It's serious. There are high expectations, and like I said, you hear culture the most when there's a new coach coming in. He has to change the culture.
That's right.
If he's coming from a program, gets hired into a program that wasn't winning, he has to change the culture. And I guess there's something to that, but I just think culture is what we are. We want to be successful, and want our kids to be proud of what we do at Birdville High School. And I've always had the feeling, and it's hard sometimes. You have seniors that don't get a lot of playing time to sit on the bench or what, but I want everybody that graduates out of our program to be able to look back and say, "Hey, I enjoyed my time there. It was worthwhile. It was a good time in my life." I don't want it to be the greatest time in their life. I want them to do wonderful things when they get out, but I want them to be able to look back with fond memories. Not just things on the court, but in the locker room and just, everything that went into the program. And that's always been pretty important to me, because I've known guys that graduated and they look back and they hated it. They didn't like the coach. They didn't like, and they may not like me or whatever, but I just want them to feel like that being a basketball player at Birdville High School, or when I was at Godley High School, or when I worked at Trinity, wherever, that it was a good time in their life. And, again, I don't know if that has anything to do with culture, but it's.
I think it does. I think it does. I think it's also. I think
it's important, and that doesn't mean I'm not going to get on to them. There's going to be days that we have to get on to them and correct things, but at the same time, they always need to know that when we do get on them, it's out of love and because we want them to be the best that they can be. And sometimes we want them to be better than they want to be.
Yeah, that's what Bobby Knight said, right? That's the toughest thing in coaching is wanting your players to be better than they want them to be
Right.
themselves. I think
Right.
you hit a fine line though, right? That we want it to be serious. We want it to be competitive and know that they're going to work hard, but then we also want them to look back and know that they had fun. And
Right.
golly, that I mean, I can't think of something that's more related to culture than creating an atmosphere where, guys, it's time to work. We're going to get after it. But you know what? All of that is fun. I think
Sure.
that's something special.
Sure. We tell them that the funnest part of it is on Tuesday and Friday night when you walk off, you look up the scoreboard and you have at least one more point than the other team. You know, that's the funnest part of the whole deal. And that doesn't happen if you don't work. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen if you're not dedicated and focused. And so, yeah, it's playing basketball should be fun, but and we also tell them we want to have fun, but unfortunately, we're going to have fun on my terms and not your terms.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be just out there goofing around in practice. We'll have fun and we'll enjoy each other, but you know, there's a time to get really serious about it.
What's the best thing that you've borrowed lately?
Well, I guess on the court it'd be the zone stuff that we talked about a while ago. The 3-2 zone has been good for us. We have some guards that they're really active, and we have some big guys. This year we're playing two bigs. Really, the first time in a long time we've played two bigs. You know, we start first two games we've started a 6'10" and a 6'6", and you know back to what we said about man off the people the way they're playing offense now. There's so much 5 out. Very few people have a back to the basket guy. If we just sit in the man, it's hard for our guys to chase them around and
That's
guard
right.
them. So when we're playing the zone, we know where our big guys are going to be, and so they're closer to the basket and they can rebound.
And you can use their length to their advantage. I think man to man when they're pulled away from the basket.
Right. That 3-2 is perfect for those big guys getting out in that corner and contesting the shot.
Yep.
You know, you got some that can do that pretty well. Off the court, you know, I guess culture, whatever. It's not something new, but it's something this year that I went back to from years and years and years ago. I pulled out my John Wooden Pyramid of Success, and we've spent time. We just finished up, but we spent time about 3 days a week before practice going over the different building blocks in the Pyramid of Success, and you know, culminated with Coach Wooden. This year's team has a lot of expectations. We have two seniors that have been starting since they were freshmen. We have good size. We have a junior that's being recruited. Some of the polls have us ranked in the top 25. High expectations, and I was really worried about guys feeling that pressure, trying to do that. You know, 17-year-old guys, that's a lot. And so, you know, Coach Wooden's definition of success that he came up with was success is a peace of mind, which is a direct result in self-satisfaction in knowing you did your best to become the best you were capable of becoming. And I thought maybe if I could get that across to him, it would take a little bit of the pressure off that, you know, what other people's expectations, and that has nothing to do with your success. How successful we are as a team is determined by, are we the best we can be? And that's what matters. And that I go way back, and you may not be interested in this, but when I was in junior high, it was about junior high, I realized I was probably not going to be in the NBA or the NFL. You know, just genetics weren't going to kick in.
You knew.
But I started thinking my junior high coaches always looked like they were having fun. I love sports. I was the gym rat, the guy that was there. And I started thinking about coaching. My 8th grade reading teacher, we all had to take reading then, gave me a book called They Call Me Coach. They Call Me Coach was the biography of John Wooden. And I read that book. Part of it talked about how he formed the pyramid and all that went into it. And be honest, Miss MacArthur gave me that book. That solidified the fact I was going to be a coach. And so the rest of the time, high school, college, everything, I was playing, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I was always thinking, I'm going to coach. And, you know, we used to talk about the pyramid. I kind of got away from it. And really what brought it back is watching Ted Lasso on TV. he
Love
has a
it.
pyramid of success hanging in his office. I don't know
That's
if you've
right.
ever don't know if you've ever noticed it. I thought, man, let's just go back and go over that with the guys. Maybe that'll, be something that they can take with them. Top
Coach,
of the
there's a
pyramid.
lot of gold in that show too. There's a
Oh,
lot of
it's
gold
great.
in
I
that.
love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. The top of the pyramid, competitive greatness. Be at your best when your best is needed.
Mm.
Love the battle. Love of a hard battle. And that's one of the things that I think really separate the championship, the great teams, is those they play their best in the clutch situations. It's easy to go out and play good when you're up 30.
Yeah.
Are you at your best when your team needs you to be the best? And so we've been hitting home on all that stuff and hoping that it'll carry a little bit, and again maybe something that they can take with them when they leave the program. About and that definition of success was good for me because when I was in high school, I was not a great player. Junior year I hardly ever got on the court. Senior year I played, but we weren't a very good team. I always wanted to have my name up on the wall at Trinity High School, all district. It wasn't there. So if I compare myself to what other people were doing, I was not a very good player. But if I was the gym rat, I was there all the time. When I look at my career, I can feel like I was pretty successful because for what the good Lord gifted me with, about a 4-inch vertical jump and run a 5.440 or whatever, for what He gifted me with, I was about as good as I could be, and I always
Yeah.
felt about that. And I think that's important that if we can get people to realize, say, just don't compare yourself to everybody else. Just be the best you can be.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful story because you're right. You'll only have one or two stars, or maybe if you're lucky to have one of those magical teams where you got four or five of them, but those
Right.
just don't come around that much. Majority of you, the players in your team, 2/3 of them are going to be the kind of guy that you're talking about that you probably won't be on any records or walls or there. But what you want all of them to do is to leave with a sense of accomplishment that you gave your very, very best. And then another thing you said, I think every team wants to be talked about or ranked high and to have those expectations. But with that comes pressure that
Right.
is sometimes really hard. And you nailed it as these 17-year-olds. So using that pyramid and taking the pressure off of them and just letting them focus on what's most important, which is what's right there in front of them that day. I think that's brilliant, man.
Well, we hope so. I don't want them to feel like that every game's a do or die. It's not. I want them to just go out there and be the best they can be. And if we'll do that, the wins generally take care of themselves. If you're a good player and you're the best you can be, then everything will be fine. And again, if pressure's tough, and there's a lot of kids. I don't know. I said I wasn't very good. It may be a good thing. I don't know if I could handle the pressure that some of these
Well,
kids are under.
social media doesn't help by any
Social
means.
media doesn't help at all. But I think of the high school football playoffs are going on. I think of being a high school quarterback and at South Lake or something like that in front of a full house on TV, and you're 17 years old, 16 years old, and you've got to go out there and make those play. I mean, that's a lot of pressure for a kid. That'd be a lot of pressure for a grown up,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's so I think anything we can do to help take some of that off and just help them to want to be good and to enjoy it without you know my coach say you dig a hole and you cover yourself up when you put that kind of pressure on yourself.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
What's one quality you see in leaders that coaches need to have themselves?
I thinking about that one too. I think that the number one quality in a true leader is that he's a servant leader. I think it's by example, and your wife knows the principle that we have at Birdville High School is the ultimate servant leader. I mean, if you look that up in the dictionary, it might have a picture of Mr. Wells there. I've seen him on rainy days when the kids are pulling up to school, walk out to their cars with his umbrella and walk them in. And one year we had ice, and while we were at school, and he was out scraping the ice off the kids' windshields. so they could go, get home when, 4, 5, 6 times a year, he'll pull his truck up behind the school and have a cookout for all the teachers.
One thing you said, I think it's important for coaches, all coaches, but it's even young coaches. You said about not necessarily saying a whole lot, so that when you do talk, it's really meaningful. And I know early on, I would give them a ton of stuff, and then not realize how quickly they're tuning me out. But then, you can kind of run out of great points and great moments with your team. So I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. People, we talk about what we say before the games. I got 2 pep talks a year. I really just need to pick when I'm going to use them, when we need them. Because if you have to go in there and give a pep talk before every game to get your guy, you're not going to be very good anyway. If it's not from inside, I found that the less I say, probably the better. And I've got these 2 seniors that are freshmen, and that's always hard too, because by the time they're seniors, if they've been on the varsity since freshman, they've heard every story I have, heard every joke I have, they've heard everything I have to say, and so I kind of feel sorry for them. So I feel like sometimes they could go ahead and say it for me. And
no, that's a good point. I had Tyler Costin. He's a PGC guy on earlier in the year, and he talked had some interesting points about pregame, halftime, and postgame talks. And he's completely against postgame talks at all. He says, meet with them, tell them you love them, whatever, let them go eat pizza with their family. And but then also pregame, keeping it really short, halftime, keeping it really short.
I agree with that.
I think it's hard. I mean, it's hard because we feel like we have so much good stuff for them that they need.
Yeah, but their attention span's not always the longest.
Yeah.
So and I think by the end of the year, basketball season's a long season.
It is.
It really is. And I think if you do too much by the end of the year, they can start tuning you out a little bit. And so when you correct them in practice, you need to try to keep it short. Correct them and get back to playing. Don't take a big long time. And
and I think too is we want them to give us their very, very best.
Right.
And so there's a part of the too where we have to honor their time.
Yes, sir.
So by having long practices, or in the middle of practices, taking a long time to explain, and even after games, like, it's late. We want them to be student athletes, but we're going to keep them another 30 minutes after. So respect their time. I think that all comes back around to help us as coaches develop better relationships with our players, but then ultimately to get their very, very best, which is what we want.
Right. I agree.
I love learning about shooting games, because I've been able to add so many at Faith just by doing this and learning cool ones. So what's your favorite shooting game?
I don't know. You've probably done it. The 2-on-2 around the world. Do you do that? Or
well, explain it.
It's kind of hard, but you got partners. You got two guys competing against each other. One team will start in one corner and the other team will start in the opposite corner. And one guy will be shooting, one guy will be rebounding. And we have the spots. We have corner, 3-point corner, 45-degree. Then we go to the free throw line, top of the key, free throw line, and then we're on the other side, 45-degree corner. But you got to make 2 in the opposite corner, and then you go back the same spots. And it's a race. And so the one guy starts shooting. If he makes it, he moves to the next spot. If he misses it, his teammate gets the rebound, runs it out to the spot where he just was, and shoots there. If he makes it, he moves to the next spot. So as long as you're making it, you keep moving it.
As a team.
As a team. Once you miss it, your partner rebounds and he goes and starts wherever you left off. And so you got 2 teams competing. One's going around this way and one's going around this way, and then they're coming back. And whichever can get around and back first, that's your winner. And we did that, way back in the 70s when I was in high school. We played that. And, some guys, they'll stay after school and they'll play that for an hour. I got winner, two guys, two and two will play. Somebody's got winners, and then they'll play, and they'll, yeah, hey, we won 6 out of 6 today, or
Nice.
whatever. And it's a fun game. You get a lot of shots in, and even passing. I mean, because as long as that guy's making it, he gets to keep shooting it. So his rebounder, you got to rebound it and give him a good pass that he can catch it and shoot on. Because the other guy, it's a race, and you don't want to have to chase down a bad pass. Or so I think it's a fun game, and I think I think it's beneficial. It's a pressure game because it is a race. You're most of the time that we do things, if I do things where they got to have to count, a lot of times they cheat. And this way, there's no cheating because you have to make it because that other team's right there and they're watching. Well, you didn't make that, you can't move. So it's a pretty fun game.
I love that game. I like the fact that it's small groups,
Right.
so you don't have long lines. I like
Right.
that they're competing with each other. A lot of times with shooting games we do they're isolated. It's one
Right.
guy going and then it's kind of everybody against each other. But I like the dynamic of two guys having to work together against two guys, and the fact that they're shooting from different spots all over the floor.
Right.
I think that's very productive.
Yeah, you might give it a try. I think
2-on-2 around the world.
2-on-2 around the world. And we've got, again, a corner, 45-degree. Then we go to the free throw line, top of the key, back to the free throw line, and then opposite 45, 2 in the opposite corner, because one for going and then one for starting back. And then they go all the way back around. What's crazy?
How many shots is that total that they're having to make?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 shots.
Yeah.
12 shots. And you get a really good kid. We've had some go all the way around and back without missing. But what's crazy about it is guys will get in that rhythm on that 3-point shot, and then when they step to the foul line, they can't make
the mid-range, coach. The mid-range jumper.
Mid-range gets them right there. And that's kind of fun to watch too. Watch them trying to figure that out, how to make that adjustment.
Coaches, the one thing that every team needs is confident shooters. The last 8 years at Grapevine Faith, our teams have averaged 354 made threes each season. I love getting to share with coaches how our shooters train and, more importantly, how they think. If you would like to enhance your shooting culture at your school, contact me directly at jamodipodcast@gmail.com.
So you alluded to earlier that you had a difficult game last night against a really good team. And so you actually had recent example of how to handle defeat directly after a game. So what do you typically like to do?
You know what? I think that's always going to depend on the team you have and the situation. And I've done lots of different things. With this particular game, we played hard. We made a lot of mistakes, a lot of turnovers. We have our athletic period's 5th period during the school. We have a 7-period school day, so it's at the lunchtime, and so we have athletic period and then we come back after school. So today, we just watched the whole film and went through the film during our 5th period time, and tried to point out things that we can do better, corrections, point out the things that we did good that we can build on, and watch the film and really try to get across to the guys. This is a learning experience. I told them we played 30 plus games. I really didn't think we were going to go 30-0. Really didn't. So, we're not, let's just use this one to make us better for the next one. And then we came back after school. We lifted weights. We did a little bit of shooting and walked through a few things, put on a new set play and talked about a few things and really kept it pretty light today. I last night after the game just basically went in the locker room and said the same thing. Learning, it's a learning experience. Let's use it to get better. Let's grow. It's over. It's done. We played hard. We did. We made some mistakes, but it's early in the year, and we'll figure those out. Now, I've also at times, and it's been a while. It's been several years since I've done it, but we've come in, let the gym clear out, and go back out and practice a little bit. Because I think there's sometimes you need to get their attention. So there's, and that's a great way to get their attention. What we did, whether it was effort, whether it was execution on something that we really needed to execute, wasn't acceptable. So we would go back out and go over it and go through it right then. And that's a deal the older kids always tell the young ones: don't take your shoes off in the locker room till coach gets through talking, because you never know. But and again, that's it's been a long time since I've done that, but it has. I have. When we lose on the road, when we play on the road, one thing that I'm really big about with the varsity guys, I want them to ride the bus to the game, ride the bus home. A lot of people ride with their parents or whatever. I want, because right after the game, if we lost, I might be upset, and it's best if I just say, hey, let's just go get on the bus, and then I've got a 30-minute, 45-minute drive, however far it is, that I can process and think about things, and then we'll go in the locker room and I can talk to them.
Hmm.
I
I
calm
like,
down a little bit.
yeah.
Sometimes right after a game, as a coach, we can be upset, and there have been times I've said something that as soon as it left my mouth, I thought, I really wish I hadn't said that.
Grab hold of it, bring it back in.
That's that happens a lot.
Well,
But,
I had a couple coaches say we have a 24-hour rule with our parents that they can't talk to us for 24-hour rules after a game for 24 hours after a game, because they need to calm down. We need to calm down. It's not a bad rule to have with your own team, because like you said, you don't want to say that thing that in the moment, like, one, you might not really know what you saw.
right,
What you think you saw, really you didn't. And you
right,
might say something that you'll regret. I love the fact that you said at the beginning of this answer, it depends on the team and it depends on the game.
right.
I think that's a great example of the art of coaching and having that feel for what does my team need right now from me.
Yeah, you're going to treat a younger team with less experience a whole lot different than you would a team that they've been there and they've done that. It's and like I said, sometimes we would go out on the court. It wasn't because we were really mad at them. It was because, okay, this is something we need to do better, and okay, while it's fresh right now, let's go talk about what we need to do better. And um, and then there have been a couple times we were mad at them too. So
Yeah.
I just think that and when you talk about losing, probably of all the people you've had on here, I probably lost more games than anybody that you've had on here. I can when our school first opened, 3 of the first 4 varsity seasons, we lost 20 plus. And um, and as for a coach, that's tough. And um, if you don't mind me sharing this,
No,
I
I
mean,
don't.
so I was at Godly High School. That was my first head coaching job. I was there 7 years. My last 2 years, we had really, really good teams. We made it to the regional finals both times. First time we lost to Crum, who went on to win state. The next time we lost to Peaster, who went on to win state. But we had really good. I had really good players that made me look good. And so I get the job at Birdville, and I think I'm pretty good, man. 27, 28 wins in a row, regional finals. I got this game coaching figured out. Well, our first varsity season, we opened with a JV, and then the next year we had varsity, but no seniors, just sophomores and juniors. And our first varsity season with seniors, that's when Coach Holman was a senior. We won 26 games. All right, so my last 2 years at Godly, and in my first year to actually have seniors, I'm like, I had got this coaching stuff figured out. I mean, 26 plus every year. I can do this. Well, the next year we won about 9, no, maybe 11. I don't know, but we lost 20 plus. And then the year after that, coach, we were 2-25. And I thought, I had absolutely nothing about this game. I am the worst coach in the history. And a lot of games we would go into halftime and the game was already over. I mean, we weren't good. I didn't do a good job. And we're all competitive. We all want to win. And it was hard. And if you don't mind me sharing, I was at we had a speaker at church, and he was talking about memorizing scripture, which I've never been really good at. And he said, well, one thing you can do to help, he said, every day for a month, read through Philippians. It takes about 10, 15 minutes, short book. He said, read through Philippians. So I started reading through Philippians. I've got it right here. and I ran across Philippians 4, starting in verse 11. He's, Paul writes a letter to the Philippians. He says, "Not that I was ever in need, for I've learned how to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I've learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it was a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little." I changed that and I said, I've learned how to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live when we win games. I know how to live when we lose games. Uh, I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether we're winning or whether we're losing. And, just that we want to win, but there's other things in life that are way more important. When I meet Jesus Christ face to face, he's going to say, "Hey, that was a nice win against Richland." He's going to say, "How did you treat those people that I put in your path that came across on your team? How did you treat them?" And those scriptures kind of got me through that year, because it was a hard deal to lose, and to lose that many. And so and it changed a little bit of how I coach and what I do. I'm a lot more mellow. When I came in, everybody wanted to be Bobby Knight.
Right.
Coach Knight was winning. My deal was, I want to be Bobby Knight without the cussing. That was my that was how I wanted to coach. And I look back and I was pretty harsh to a lot of kids, and still am probably sometimes too much. But that really, I'm thinking, okay, so we won all those games. I'm coaching just as hard, and we're not winning. There's got to be more to it than winning and losing. And so we want to win all, and we want to win because it's more fun to win. But my mom used to say, every Tuesday night, half of the teams are winning and half of them are not winning. So does that mean all those that are not winning are failures? We just strive to be the best we can be, and hopefully we win more than we lose. But if we don't, we still be the best we can be. And so that, like I said, that scripture was really big to me, getting through that season.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that. And I've always been, this has always been a forum, I think, with the podcast where believers are able to share things that they want. And so I love how
you can cut me out.
No, I love it. That's all good. And I think what a great reminder for me. Like, I mean, I'm at a Christian private school where we have biblical infusion in everything we do. But Coach, I've had years where I think I lost my perspective. I forgot what my why was. Like, why am I at Faith?
Right.
Why am I coaching basketball? If it's just to win, and if it's just to, I don't know, get a certain amount, if it's not about the people, and it's not about using basketball as a vehicle, or at Faith, if it's not about pointing them towards the cross every single day, and I'm not great at that, of being that consistent. But I think your story there is powerful, because so many people see you 22 years later with this team that you have, now, but they forget, or they don't know what you've gone through to get there.
Yeah, there are a lot of coaches that they win all the time. They're great coaches, and they just win. And I've experienced both sides, both ends of it. I've had teams that made me look really good because they were good players, and they just had whatever it took to win. And I've had coached teams that weren't good, and I think that's where maybe as coaches sometimes we kind of overplay ourselves a little bit, because I was the same coach when we weren't winning as when we were winning. Here I was coach of the year, and then 2 years later we won 2. And it's the winning and losing part. There's a whole lot of things that we don't control about that. It's the kids that we have, and how good they are, how big they are, how fast they are,
how healthy do they stay. I mean, there's a lot of things.
So there's only 2 things we can control: our effort and our attitude. And I think that doesn't just go to basketball. I think that's life.
Yeah.
We can control how hard we work at something, and there's going to be good things happen. There's going to be bad things happen that we have no control over, but we can control our attitude towards those things. And So that's something, that's another, we try to get that across to our kids. We can't control some of those calls that were made last night. We can control how hard we play, and we can control our attitude and how we deal with those calls, the reaction to that. And so again, I've been fortunate to win some games, but we've lost a lot too, and so I probably had to deal with that about as much as anybody.
The cool thing too is that you have an administration there, and Jana, my wife, has told me just amazing things. I think a lot of people actually know about how awesome the administration is at Birdville, and but you were able to coach through that, because I think some coaches lose their way.
Yeah, I don't know. It was probably touch and go for a while there. It really was.
Yeah.
As to another thing I got from Coach Meyer, build your army every day. He said, and so yeah, I believe that if you do your best to treat people right, and that's the other teachers, the other coaches, that you can survive a couple of down years. I think if you're a jerk, once you have 1 or 2 bad years, they're going to be coming out of the woodwork to get rid of you. They'll put up with a jerk that's winning.
Yeah.
But if you don't treat people right, then eventually they're gonna, if you have that bad year, you're in trouble. So we've always tried to, Coach Newman always said the worst thing you can do is have tunnel vision. You have to understand when you're coaching that the dance team, the girls in the dance team and the dance team, their program is just as important to them as basketball is to you. So when they need to use the gym, and it might affect your practice time, understand that what they're doing is just as important as what you're doing. And that's hard too. That's hard. And you have to remind yourself of that all the time. But every program in the school, whatever they're doing, that means as much to them as basketball means to me and our players.
Coach, I think that reminder right there might just have, I've already gotten a lot out of our time together, but that's really powerful. And I have forgotten that time and time again. And so I appreciate that reminder. Well, Coach, I think a lot of people know you from your time, at Birdville and beyond, but the speed round is going to help us to get to know you a little bit better. You ready?
Okay.
Just first thing that pops in your head.
All right.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Vanilla.
For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
No shot clock.
All right, and this is the one I always lean in. What's your why?
I'm going to tell you why. It is hard finding good help to run the scoreboard and to run to keep the book and all of that. We have random people. We might have somebody do the scoreboard one night, the next they can't do it the next time. If you have somebody running that shot clock, it's got to be somebody that knows what they're doing, basically the same person there every time.
Yeah.
And I think overall, that's going to be hard to find quality people to do that. As far as a shot clock, the way we play, it wouldn't affect us one way or the other.
Right.
I mean, that was one of the things that we pointed out on our film today. I think we averaged 1 pass per possession. That.
Now, do you not like? Does that bug you, or are you okay with that?
Well, that was a little quick. I don't mind taking a good shot if it's on 1 pass, but I think we were forcing things a little bit.
Yeah, you're right on the money there.
But the shot clock. You watch the colleges, it will completely change the game.
Yeah,
completely. Because you watch a lot and they do a lot of false motion and stuff till they get deep in the shot clock, and then they run a set or just a high ball screen and go. And I think it would affect the game a little bit. But my main deal is just the personnel.
I think that's a good reason for no shot clock, is how hard it would be to have somebody running it. I think that especially at the public schools, you'd have to be paying them more money, because it would be something that would be infuriating and really mess with the rhythm of the game if there were constant stops because of issues. So that's a good reason. Okay. Texting or talking?
Talking.
Favorite holiday?
Easter.
Invisibility or super strength?
Invisibility.
Hmm.
I don't know why.
Yeah. If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
That's fair. You can pass.
God put me here for. I don't know. I think every era had great things, and every era had things that weren't so good. So.
That's a good point. Favorite childhood TV show?
Oh golly, childhood. I'm trying to think. My childhood. I always thought about Carol Burnett show. I can't.
Okay.
I always stayed up Saturday
All
night.
right. Two more. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
2 in the morning.
2 in the morning. That's it. Oh,
that's it. With a lot of milk and sugar.
There you go.
I put a little bit of coffee in my milk and sugar.
Last one, and probably the most important, Coach. Godfather or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
And it could be neither. If you're thinking neither,
I actually like them both. My son is he graduated a couple of years ago from college, and he's a film major, and so we watch a lot of movies. And,
nice.
A lot of them that aren't on the beaten path, but at least we sat down and had a Godfather deal during COVID and watched them all.
That's cool. That's cool.
I like the original Star Wars better, I think.
Oh yeah, the story just so much better. Well, Coach, I first want to thank you so much for giving up your time. I mean, in season, I know it's hard, but I really appreciated getting to learn from you. I thought you're awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me, and we follow your program, and need you to come teach our guys to shoot sometime.
I don't know. I think you've got it down, especially with the 2-on-2 around the world. But
it's a fun game.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.